Hello, it is Tuesday, November 5th, 1996. Or is it? No, of course not. It is Wednesday, October 13th, 2021. In either case, I am Chris Remo, and welcome back to my New York Times Crossword Daily Solve. Now, ordinarily on this channel, I solve the New York Times crossword puzzle that has been published today, on the day of the recording. In this case, that's not happening. For complex logistical reasons, I'm not able to do that today. And so I am running a substitute video solve that I recorded about a month ago, just in case something like this comes up, which it has. So this is a puzzle from the New York Times crossword archive. It's an extremely interesting puzzle. I think it's safe to say the most controversial puzzle the New York Times has run, and that the reason for that will be clear. I will introduce it on the archive video that you're about to see, to which I'm appending today's introduction here. If you are new to this channel, as I said, I typically solve the crossword each day. So do consider subscribing to the channel if you are interested in seeing more of what I ordinarily do. But I would like to also do some more of these historical solves because I do think they're very interesting. I have a couple other ideas for puzzles I could solve in the future on off days. But now let's cut to myself about a month ago solving a puzzle from 1996. I do hope you enjoy. This is the probably, I would say, the most controversial crossword that has ever run in the pages of the New York Times for a reason that you will understand after it's been solved. It's a very incredibly impressive construction of a very unique and wonderful crossword. I have solved it in the past, so I do know what I'm getting into, but it's been many years since I've solved it, so I don't remember the individual answers. So hopefully this will be enough of a true solve that it will be enjoyable to you in the way that these videos hopefully generally are. Now, for some context, this puzzle, which as we can see was constructed by Jay Farrell and still, those decades ago, edited as always by Will Shortz, was released on the election day in the United States in 1996. This was an election between the incumbent Democratic President Bill Clinton and Republican challenger Bob Dole. There was also the Reform Party candidate Ross Perot, but the two major party candidates were Bill Clinton and Bob Dole. And this puzzle occurred on the day of that election. So the results of the election would be known the following morning or late that evening or what have you. And that's what you need to know as we head into this puzzle. And I won't belabor it any further. Let's get started and let's see why this is such an extraordinary construction and proved so controversial among solvers and readers of the New York Times. Ready to get started? Okay. Blank your name, Mamas and Papas lyrics. Don't remember. Let's keep going. Fell behind slightly. Lost ground, perhaps? No, too many letters. So as you can see, I certainly don't remember the answers to this crossword, despite having solved it many years ago. Euripides tragedy. Euripides. Is Euripides Antigone and Oedipus? Could it be Medea? Let's check the crosses. Disable. Disable. Not sure. Cherry-colored. Newspaperman Oaks. Oh, this is actually a New York Times related clue. Adolph Oaks, I think. Oaks, I wouldn't fault anyone for not knowing this bit of trivia, but the Oaks family, I believe, was longtime publishers or owners of the New York Times. I'll have to look that up. An easel part of an easel could be a leg, one of three legs on an easel. Actress Turner. Lana Turner, I think, rings a bell. So would this be I Call Your Name, Mamas and Papas lyric? That looks right. So let's try Lana there. This is coming together, so Medea looks correct. Disable. Impair, possibly? Let's try that and see. Drying out program, that could be rehab. That looks right. 1960s espionage series. Let's come back to that. To be bedridden is to ail, to be ill. A forecast, a prognosis? Prognostication, probably, and rather than prognosis. And prognostication does have more of a sort of predictive connotation than a prognosis, which is sort of an diagnostic kind of evaluation. All right. Superannuated. If one is superannuated, one is old. I'm actually recording this on the day of my birthday, on which I'm in the process of superannuating. So cherry-colored is cerise, a shade of red that looks right. 1960s espionage series. This must be I Spy, based on the espionage bit. A sewing shop purchase. Could imagine this being a yarn, but also a yard of yarn. So let's say yarn for now. Write that in. Here we have tees. Tees could be rib or rag. I could see it going either way. Short writings. Short writings. It could be, if the writing is short, it could be a bit. If what we're saying is a short name for a type of writing, it could be bios. Either way would be BI, actually. So that could make tees rib rather than rag. A trumpet could be boast, in order to sort of like trumpet your successes, boast. Or it could be trumpet, meaning the sound a trumpet makes, to blare, get to blare notes from my trumpet. I'm going to trumpet these notes. Could be either of those. Let's run back up here. Journalist Stewart. So one of the things about solving an old crossword is you'll find that things that would have been topical at the time no longer necessarily are. So I'm not sure who this journalist Stewart is offhand. Let's look here. Blanc Perignon. This would be Dom Perignon, the champagne. Ropes as dogies. So this is a sort of American Western. Dogies is an American Western term for animals? I don't know. Horses? I'm not actually sure if dogies refers specifically to a particular species or not, actually, now that I think about it. So fell behind slightly. So it does look like lost, doesn't it? But it's not lost ground because that doesn't fit. But with that L, it's got to be lost. So first of three in a row, I see, would be tick, as in tic-tac-toe. 3 in a row. Place to put your feet up. You could put your feet up on an ottoman, article of furniture. An underskirt could be a slip, undergarment. So that makes journalist Stuart Alsop. Sounds plausible. And free could be at liberty. We are at liberty to solve this crossword. So to lower in public estimation. That could be abase, to abase somebody, to sort of undermine them. Oops. One-time bowling alley employee. I am not sure. A threesome is clearly a trio. That's pretty straightforward. English Prince's School would be Eton. I visited Eton a few weeks ago near Windsor Castle. Well, I didn't actually visit Eton. I visited Windsor, but Eton is nearby. 60s TV talk show host Joe. Don't think I know that person. So here we have fell behind slightly. Lost a step is what this is. Maybe a one-time bowling alley employee is a setter, perhaps? This must mean before the advent of automated pin setting machines, there must have needed to be a person, an employee, who came and reset the pins after you bowled. I suspect that's what that is, but let's check the crosses to see. Yes, Rosetta Stone, so there's that T there for stone. We have talk show host Joe Pine. I'll have to assume that's correct. And then here, if we have a quilting party, I think a bee, quilting bee is what that's called. So here, if we have setter, we have tease. Oh, another tease. Was that? Yep, double teases. So this with that R looks like razz to me. Razz someone, tease them, give them a hard time. Actress Caldwell. Zoe Caldwell. It's hard to imagine very many other names female names that start with a Z and 3 letters. End of the English alphabet. So here we have English meaning English, British meaning Z for the American Z. And likely would be apt. And so, yes, that crosses correctly with the Telltale Heart writer, Poe, Edgar Allan Poe. So that's apt. And then here we have umpire's call. In baseball, an umpire might call safe. TV's Uncle Milty. So this person came up in a crossword maybe a month ago at this point. It was on the series. It was in a video. And it related to their presence in, I think, The Wizard of Oz, possibly Milton Berle. So on my mind for that reason. And an opponent is a foe. So here we have trumpet, right? So we have blare or boast, ex-host Griffin, and here we have standard. So a standard is a norm. A black Halloween animal. Could be a cat, black cat. But it could also be a bat, which is also a Halloween-associated animal that is black. Let's try cat and see what happens. Here we have a French 101 word. Could be a lot of things. Could be les, L-E-S, the plural definite article is the for plural things. Could be non, N-O-N for no. Could be oui, O-U-I for yes. Let's try that. Gold prefix. A-U-R. Because A-U is the chemical symbol for gold, I think. And I think R is often used. Provider of support for short. Could be bra, short for brassiere. Spanish aunts are tias. That's just a straightforward Spanish word. So so this could actually be oui, O-U-I, or Louis, L-U-I, which is him in French. This could be bra, but it could be IRA, provider of support for individual retirement account, which is a form of personal pension in the United States. Much debated political initials. Could be quite a few things, probably. A sourpuss. Let's see, what is this? This is our theme answer. Let's come back to this in a little bit. Let's bypass that for now. So blank Lee cakes, Sara Lee cakes, common brand in the United States. I'm not sure if elsewhere. So the much debated political initials with that R could be the NRA, the National Rifle Association. Could also be the ERA, the Equal Rights Amendment, which is a long proposed amendment to the United States Constitution that has never been fully ratified by the states. Either way, it could end with A. And then an obi. An obi is an article of Japanese clothing and is a sort of sash or belt. So it could be sash. Yeah, it could very well be sash. Malign could be a sail? No. Malign. Asperse, to cast aspersions? Can you use asperse in that way? I don't see why you wouldn't be able to. Yeah, so probably asperse as in cast aspersions, to malign somebody. Daddies could be paws. Paw for daddy. Sheiks, cliques would be plural. They may get tied up in knots. That's too long to be going on with now. A family girl with that S could be sis for sister, member of the family. Otherworldly could be eerie, I suspect, with those crosses. So the sheiks, cliques could be harems. Here we have quite a story. An epic, quite a story, an epic tale. Dublin's land. This could be one of two things, because it could be Aaron, but it also could be Ira. Oh, Lord. I learned how to pronounce this recently from someone in the comments, and now I'm not certain. But in any case, it could be one of two traditional names for Ireland. I'm not sure which just yet, so we'll leave it blank. Blank Victor. In 3 letters, I suspect this is RCA Victor, which is a defunct, I think, record label. All right. Exclusion from social events. Ostracism, I suspect, with that schism at the end there. If you're ostracized, you are being excluded. Here we have famous blank. Not sure what that is. Something to make on one's birthday. Make a wish. It's my birthday today, in fact. I wish to solve this crossword. I'm pretty sure I'll get that wish. Regarding as to... you don't need to wish me a happy birthday in the comments because this is happening in the past. So it's not actually my birthday when you're watching this. They may get tied up in knots. Oh, shoelaces. There we go. Here we have employee motivator. Could be an award. It's pretty straightforward. Treasure hunter's aid could certainly be a map. Let's skip that for now. La Nausée novelist. Sartre, presumably. I'm actually not familiar with this novel, but looks like Sartre to me. 10 on a scale of 1 to 10 would be ideal. A small island is an 8. That is I think actually more often used in Britain than in the United States, but is a small island, I think usually in a river, an island within a river rather than a sea. So to trumpet, it could be blast or boast, actually. So not actually Blair doesn't really work. But it could be blast or boast. But not Blair, after all. So ex-host Griffin, let's see, bobble the ball. That sounds like simply making a mistake of some kind in a sport, maybe. Error, yeah. A sourpuss could be a crab. Theta of 1917's Cleopatra. Oh, this rings a bell. This would be a silent film actress, I think. I think I know this, but I can't bring it to mind. Bravery could be valor, based on that cross and the number of letters. To bemoan is to lament. A popsicle color, well, based on these fills, probably orange. And then a bird of prey is a raptor. I know that. To begin as a maze is to enter a maze. The Fab Four name. The Fab Four are the Beatles, so one of them is Ringo Starr. A hullabaloo is a din. So here we have, finally, one of our theme answers. This says, title for 39 Across next year. And 39 Across is lead story in tomorrow's newspaper. So, as I said, this was on election day. This certainly looks like Mr. President, doesn't it? So there we go. And that fills in Dublin's land, the Ireland clue. So let's jump back up to here. This says lead stories in tomorrow's newspaper with 43 across. So today's election day. Tomorrow we will know who is elected. So let's jump back over here. Well, Bill Clinton did win the election in 1996, and we see Clinton does fit. So let's try that out. There it is. A brief moment of panic there because I got the blue box rather than the gold box, which you get the gold one if you solve the puzzle on the day of its release, and then that increments your solving streak by 1. Anyway, this is an ancient puzzle, so does not in any way contribute to my streak. Anyway, let's discuss this because this is very interesting. You can imagine why this would have been controversial, right? The New York Times declaring Clinton elected, the left-leaning New York Times declaring Bill Clinton, the incumbent Democratic or center-left party, becoming elected again. What on earth are they doing making that kind of claim in a crossword? That is insulting and condescending and ridiculous, isn't it? Or is it? Because if you recall, I was being a bit playful here because I remembered the theme, so I was being slightly cheeky. But if you recall, when we started getting into this middle zone, there were a lot of clues that could have gone either way, weren't there? Sewing shop purchase. Might not have been yard, it might have been a yard of yarn. Bits, short writings, sure, you could write a bit, but you could also have a short genre of writings, writing bio for biography, a shortened writing bio. We could have had blast for trumpet instead of boast. Could have had ERA for much debated political initials. In fact, I have another window of this open. Let's put these in and see what happens. So if we had yard for sewing shop purchase, if we had bios for short writings and a blast for a trumpet, and if we had the ERA, the Equal Rights Amendment, for political initials, and if we had the bat, not the cat, for the Black Halloween animal, let's say we had oui rather than Louis as a French word, and we had the bra rather than the IRA as a provider of support. Suddenly, we have Bob Dole elected. And you can imagine if you happened to solve this crossword puzzle and just had slightly different ideas about what these things might be, you may have landed on Bob Dole and similarly been very upset with the New York Times. What are you doing predicting who's going to win this election tomorrow? What are you doing saying Bob Dole's going to win? It doesn't really necessarily even particularly matter what your political leaning is, although I suspect that influenced who got more upset depending on which way they solved the puzzle. But this absolutely brilliant puzzle by Jay Farrell, edited as always by Will Shortz, is completely valid regardless of whether it declares Bob Dole or Clinton to be the winner of the election. Unbelievable. I find this puzzle absolutely incredible. The construction, both the construction and the cluing, is absolutely genius. Some of these are a bit iffy. I would say bits and bios is maybe slightly iffy, but honestly, that's a pretty minor quibble. And everything else, I think, is absolutely rock solid. Cat and bat, I find to be unbelievable. You almost couldn't get something that is a more atomic example of a clue that is 100% valid either way. Bats and cats are, if anything, equally associated. Black cats, I should say, and bats, both iconic Halloween animals. They serve perfectly here in the puzzle. You have Louis or oui in French, both very basic French 101 words if you know some sort of beginner level French. Provider of support, IRA, and bra, that is brilliant. It's not as sort of atomic as something, it's not as sort of crystalline in form as the Black Halloween animal, but again, equally valid. You're supported in your old age by your pension, by your retirement account, and if you're wearing a bra, it's providing you support. And they're both shortened versions of the full word or phrase. Yard and yarn, very clever. Boast and blast, very clever. I mean, you could argue boast is a bit more of a reach with trumpet, but I think it's very good. And the much debated political initials, very clever, and especially crossing with this political clue. I mean, I would say these days the NRA is more discussed than the ERA, but both equally valid. Anyway, I will stop waxing rhapsodic about this crossword, but I really do find it incredible. You can understand both why it's one of the most legendary crosswords ever constructed, which it absolutely is, and also why it was so incredibly controversial on the day of its release. The New York Times apparently was absolutely flooded with angry letters from people who thought that Will Shortz and the New York Times were going out on a limb and committing in black and white on physically printed page, which is how just about everybody would have experienced this in 1996. They were declaring that they knew who would win the election being held that day. But of course, it was just a clever bit of crossword misdirection. Absolutely brilliant. I wonder how many people on the day figured out what was going on. I would like to think I would have, but there's really no way to know. By the time I learned of this crossword, I learned about it because of this gimmick, and it's impossible to unknow it once you know it, which is why I was being a bit cheeky with my fills over here, because I didn't remember the specific answers, of course, but I remembered that this space here had to fit either Clinton or Bob Dole, so I was trying to imagine what could feel, and I didn't get it quite right in every case. I said blast rather than boast, blast was one of them. What was the other one? I said Blair, right? Yes, I said Blair where it would have been blast, because I remembered there needed to be an L here for Bob Dole, but I didn't obviously remember the fill. Anyway, that's by the by. I hope you enjoyed watching me solve this incredibly fascinating puzzle. I hope it is a worthy replacement for missing whatever day it is that I was unable to deliver the proper daily crossword. Let me know how you feel about this kind of thing. I suspect I'll have cases in the future in which I'm unable to solve the daily crossword because of life concerns. So let me know if you find this kind of thing interesting, and if you have ideas for other interesting crosswords that are historically important or notable for some other reason that I might be able to use for a similar purpose. I hope you enjoyed that substitute solve. If you enjoyed this video, please do consider subscribing to the channel so you see the ordinary daily solve as it goes up each day, as well as any potential bonus historical solves, such as this one. And if you think you know someone who might also enjoy it, please do pass it along to them. It means a lot when people do that, or maybe just suggest it to the other denizens of wherever it is you reside on the internet. And if you particularly enjoy this series and would like to become personally invested in its ongoing sustainability, please consider heading over to my Patreon campaign at patreon.com/dailysolve, where you can make a small monthly contribution in return for bonus video solves, as well as special access to the Daily Solve Discord server, which is publicly available, but you get special access through the Patreon. And also, depending on your level of contribution, you can get exclusive merchandise as well as recognition at the end of these videos, which is about to happen right this moment. So thank you so much to Dan Stocco and, as always, the inestimable Hood Monster for their very generous support in keeping this series going. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Hood Monster. I do very much appreciate it. And thank you to everyone else who has backed the Patreon campaign. And thank you to you for watching. I hope you do the same tomorrow when I return, hopefully, for the standard Thursday New York Times crossword puzzle, which is a tricky one. Thursdays usually has some kind of unusual theme or gimmick or mechanic in there. So do join me for that. It should be fun. And until that point, please do have an excellent remainder of your Wednesday. Take care.